This is Fieldsports Channel News. Home Office plans could see the cost of new firearms licences more than quadruple to £400. Policing Minister Dame Diana Johnson has abandoned the public safety role of firearms licensing and says the extra revenue raised is to support important improvements in police funding. The Home Office is to allow forces to pass on the full cost of administering the licensing scheme to gun owners. Part of the government's police funding settlement, it is expected to raise £20 million. It could push the cost of a new licence up from between £49 and £90 to £400.
The first thing to say is the Firearms Act is quite clear that the licensing system is purely for the protection of public safety. And we as people who shoot should support that because it protects us. None of us want to have people who shouldn't have guns with guns because that would threaten shooting itself. That's the first point. The second point to say is that hiking the licence fee doesn't guarantee that any of that money reaches cash-strapped licensing departments because it all goes into the police general fund. And there is no guarantee, because the money isn't ring-fenced, that it will go into licensing. And in terms of where money is distributed at present, I think the chances of it going into licensing are fairly remote in a number of constabularies that run firearms licensing departments.
A government agency has proposed a ban on most uses of lead in shooting. The Health and Safety Executive sent its final recommendations to the government on restricting lead ammunition in Britain. It launched a consultation on the issue in 2022. It wants a ban on lead shot for clay, game and pests over 5 years and a ban on lead rifle ammunition larger than .243 for target shooting and wildlife. Airgunners have a stay of execution with no restrictions proposed on pellets for live quarry or target shooting. Following BASC submissions, there will be no restriction on target shooting for 95% of ranges and no restrictions on the 5% of remaining ranges that can de-lead. These are only recommendations from HSE. They are not yet law. BASC and other shooting organisations will continue to lobby government to ensure that the final lead ammo rules are practical and based on evidence.
BASC do not support this proposal, and we will be investing members' money to undertake further research to ensure that we can influence decisions made by ministers going forwards. Small calibers below .243 face no restrictions at all. BASC will continue to lobby ministers going forwards to ensure that any legislation is proportionate and evidence-based.
Dorset police seized a deer manager's firearms and say they won't let him have them back. Stu Miles' girlfriend dumped him, may have made an allegation to the police about him, which led to them seizing his guns, and then withdrew that allegation. Now the constabulary is refusing to give his guns back. Since the then Home Secretary Priti Patel issued new guidance to police firearms licensing departments in 2021, some constabularies have been draconian in their enforcement and are using any excuse to seize guns. Even after Stu's former partner confirmed to Dorset Police that Stu is of no risk, officers are not backing down. Link below for the full story.
Whatever she may have said, it was a mistake. She doesn't feel threatened by me. She's happy. She's always felt that I've been safe with firearms. That she doesn't want it to affect my hobby, part of now my livelihood, my sponsorship deals. She doesn't want it to affect that. And rightfully so. I mean, the police at that time, okay, they had to do their job. Allegation was made, they took my firearms, that's fine. But it never got followed up. No one spoke to me. I had to do all the chasing to find out what was actually happening. And so they've affected my whole livelihood and taken away everything that I've built and then gone, oh, well, we've got that now we'll just push him to the side.
A Highland firm has won a contract worth more than £1.5 million for processing culled deer. Argy Game landed the deal for deer culled by Forestry and Land Scotland. Following the recent tender of 10 geographic lots, long-standing partner Highland Game, which will continue to operate in 9 areas, is joined by Argy Game, which won the contract for the north of Scotland. A major new French deer stalking documentary is out on YouTube. The 90-minute film on the Marius Chasse channel takes you to the red deer of the beautiful Pyrenees Mountains. In unpredictable conditions, which has them bivouacking in the fog, the 4-day hunt ends in a shot. There's a link to it below. The family of comedian Eric Morecambe is selling his fishing kit. A lifelong angler, the TV star's rods, reels, floats and flies, he enjoyed all kinds of angling, are up for sale at an auction in Burton-on-Trent on the 10th and 11th of January 2025. Among lots are this 1970s tweed sports jacket, as well as a large fly tying collection. Morecambe, who died in 1984, said, "The 3 F's you see are my hobbies: football, fishing and photography." Link to the catalogue below. The Swiss canton of Valais will relax its ban on foreigners hunting ibex from the start of 2025. It banned hunters from outside the canton in 2021 from going after Switzerland's most iconic big game. Since then, there have been calls for the return of foreign hunters. Last year, the Grand Council of Valais allowed a review of the ban. No other Swiss cantons allow foreigners to hunt ibex. There's a link to our film about the Swiss ibex hunt below. 18 to 34-year-olds are officially the biggest growth market for hunting in Germany. Figures from the German hunting organisation DJV show how the average age of German hunters is going down. The proportion of young people between the ages of 18 to 34 increased from 9% in 2016 to 11% in 2022. Traditionally, hunting has been passed down through families, but this is changing too. More than 21% of participants in hunter courses stated they had no previous experience of hunting. In addition, almost a quarter of participants live in urban areas, showing how the appeal of hunting is reaching ever newer groups. A former Norwegian MP has been found guilty of trying to hide a frozen fish in his garden. Police photographed an illegal drift net outside Magnus Strangeland's home. Later that day, they found a frozen salmon, which they believe the politician tried to hide under a bush. A judge sentenced the 83-year-old to 18 days in prison, which was suspended, and a fine of 20,000 crowns, about £1,400. The ex-member of Parliament lost his net, but gets to keep 2 boats. Thanks to Per Helmseth for the story. Our report last week on T-shirts for sale in Zambia is gathering pace. The campaign to highlight how celebrities use their fame in a way that harms people in Africa has social media buzzing with photographs, aimed mainly at British comedians who want to ban hunting tourism. Meanwhile, reported in local newspapers, Namibia's Environment Minister says that trophy hunting is vital for conservation, sustainable development and ecosystem preservation across southern Africa. And finally, a rugby player ended up on the deck after an invasive species invaded the pitch. It happened during a Buckinghamshire derby match between Aylesbury and Marlow. The deer sprinted on and hit a Marlow player. Both the player and the muntjac were said to be unharmed. Marlow went on to win the game 19-17. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.